Okay, Bismillah. Okay, this hadith, we started this hadith yesterday. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Come closer. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وابن مسعود قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم نظر الله عبدا سمع مقالتي. May Allah Ta'ala keep fresh, may Allah Ta'ala keep healthy, may Allah Ta'ala keep hale. Abdan, that servant, سمع مقالتي, he heard my statement, he heard something from the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فحفظها, then he memorized it. ووعاها, then he protected it. وأداها, then he discharged it. فرب حامل فقه, many a carrier, a transmitter of knowledge. غير فقيه, listen nicely, I'm translating, is not a jurist. ورب حامل فقه, and many a person carries knowledge إلى من هو أفقه منه, to that person who is more knowledgeable than him. In ثلاث, three type of people, لا يغل عليهن قلب مسلم. Take this translation for the timing when I do this in detail. The heart of a Muslim, two translations actually, is not envious or jealous or does not deceive with regards to it. One is ikhlasul amal, sincerity of actions, lillah, wa ta'ala, wa nasihatu lil Muslim, wishing good for the Muslims, wa luzumu jama'atihim, holding firm onto the jama'at, fa inna da'watahum, fi their dua, tuhitu mi wara'ahum, it encompasses those that are around them as well. Right? رواه الشافعي, Imam Shafi narrates, والبيهقي في المدخل, Imam Bayhaqi in his مدخل, ورواه أحمد, Imam Ahmad narrated, والترمذي وأبو داود وابن ماجة والدارمي, and they narrate the same hadith, but they pray from Zayd ibn Sabit, except if you look at the riwayat of Imam Tirmidhi, إلا أن الترمذي in the Abu Dawud, in the end Abu Dawud, Imam Tirmidhi and Abu Dawud, ولم يذكر, they never mentioned ثلاث لا يغل عليهن إلى آخره. That was their riwayat stops by من هو أفقه منه. They only have till there. I hope you understood that. Sometimes you can be asked about this also. Like in the exam, when we see the Mishkaat Shareef exam, we give this reference. What does this mean here? Like this written here, what you understand, what is that? It's also important to understand what is being said there. So before you even look at the explanation of the hadith, I always tell you what you understand. Can you tell me what you understood? Anything, Isma, what you understood? Rashid, what you understood? Right. So first thing we learn here is that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam made a special dua for those people who busy themselves. They busy themselves with learning the hadith, preserving it, and then conveying it. And I also mentioned to you this can happen in different capacities. You can be a ustad of hadith in madrasa. You could be a maktab teacher. You teach the hadith. You could be a parent. You teach simple adab and etiquette that come from the hadith. You could be a imam, a khatib. You give in the masjid. You can give in dars on the radio station. You can be doing online dars. So those persons busy themselves with the preservation of the words of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made a special dua for them, right? So that he says, may Allah Ta'ala keep you fresh, may Allah Ta'ala keep you healthy, may Allah Ta'ala keep you well. So we make dua that Allah Ta'ala include us among these people by virtue of what we are doing, right? So there's a special, and that is the reason why, maybe this is the reason that contributed to the preservation of hadith. That people, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam made so much dua for the person who busies himself with the preservation of hadith. That's why throughout the ages, people took so much pride in learning the hadith, preserving it, conveying it, etc., etc. You understood it? So, great virtue there. Allah Ta'ala include us from among them. Then the next part, فَرُبَّ حَامِلِ فِقْهٍ غَيْرُ فَقِيهٍ. غَيْرُ فَقِيهٍ. What this means here, certain ulama in the early stages, before the early stages, their work was only to hear hadith, memorize it properly, look after it, and narrate it to other people. So they were just, so to say, we say the muhaddithin. They were the muhaddithin. Their work was not to take out, extract Messiah from it. This was the work of the A'immai Mujtahideen. This was the work of the Fuqaha Ikram. They are the ones. So like in early stages, we had those ulama, they just heard the hadith and they conveyed it. So this is what Nabi Sallam is saying. The people, that's like a simple example also, if you look at Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he was a muhaddith, he narrated hadith, but he was not considered to be amongst the fuqaha of the ummah, that is the jurist. He was just a carrier of hadith. So Allah Ta'ala Allah Ta'ala showing you, and the Nabi is showing that Allah Ta'ala will take special men out from his ummah, that they will have the ability to understand the hadith. They will have the ability to draw from the hadith. They will have the ability. So Allah Ta'ala used different people for different things. That's why in Arabic it's not the hadith, but it's saying, لِكُلِّ فَنٍّ رِجَالٌ لِكُلِّ فَنٍّ رِجَالٌ. Yeah. لِكُلِّ فَنٍّ رِجَالٌ. So you see, Allah Ta'ala chose people just for the preservation of hadith and to convey it to the fuqaha, and the fuqaha were chosen to extrapolate. Remember that famous story of Imam Shafi? He said in one night he extracted 100 masail, 100 rulings from one ayat of the Quran. So Allah Ta'ala gave them its intuition, and here Nabi Sallallahu is making a reference to that. There are certain people that Allah Ta'ala will choose them, and their work will be to extract the laws, etc. So doesn't mean every muhaddith is a faqih, or every muhaddith has got the ability to extrapolate Messiah, right? So from this also, we learn something important. That maybe sometimes to you, it just seems like an ordinary word. You do not see the inner deeper meaning. But when that same hadith comes in front of a faqih, it will mean something else to him. So that's why you have to narrate the hadith exactly like how you heard it. To you, it seemed like why was this word used, or why was that word used? It means nothing to you. But when the same thing comes in the front of the faqih, it's you will see something you do not see. You understand what I'm saying? And then addaha, see, wawa'aha, hafizaha, you retained it properly, you protected it, wawa'aha, right? Wa'addaha, and then so you see from this here, it shows you that to convey the message as a Muslim in every capacity, where you can convey knowledge, you can keep the right legacy of the Nubuwwat alive. So there's targheeb there. But now, sometimes in conveying knowledge, there are certain important sharai that you have to keep in mind. You must have ikhlas, you must have sincerity, you mustn't show off. That is the link between salasun la yaghillu alayna qalbu muslimun. That you're going to be conveying knowledge, but remember these three things here. Remember these three things. So interesting here is mentioned salasun la yaghillu. If you take ghalla yaghillu, you put a fatha on the alamat mudari, right? And a zabar. And you put a fatha on the alamat mudari and a kasra on the ghain, which is ghalla yaghillu. So it means to be jealous of somebody, it means to be envious of somebody. So it means la yaghillu alayhinna. So the hadith, so we say means to be not, to have hatred, enmity for somebody, understood? To have ill feeling for somebody. So if we did it to mean that the hadith would mean this here, to attain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To attain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Right. So the heart of a mu'min must not have hatred, enmity for somebody. And then Also, so la yaghillu alaykum. Then the next thing is salatul ikhlasul amalillah. To obtain the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala, you must have sincerity in your actions. And to attain the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala, you must wish well for the Muslim Ummah. And also to attain the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala, you must remain firm with the Jamaat, the broader Jamaat of the Muslimin, because when you are firm with them, you will be included in their du'as. So that it would mean you say, Ghalla yaghillu, you understood that? And the other way is you say, Ghalla yughillu. And I tell you, Ghalla yughillu from Af'ala, you say, Ghalla yughillu, which from ghulul, means deceive. Now, normally, ghulul, it's normally used to deceive with regards to the mal ghanimat. You know, when you go in jihad and then people deceive or they snatch some of the mal ghanimat. So it would mean that a heart of a believer does not deceive with regards to three things. You are always honest with three things. And that is, what's the three things? Ikhlasul amal, that you always, wish good for the people and you do some things sincerely for Allah Ta'ala and you hold firm unto the Jama'at. You understood? You won't, in this context, you won't fall short in conveying the message of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then, فَإِنَّ دَعْوَتَهُمْ, why should you hold firm on the Jamaat? Because when you are part of the Jamaat, then when the Jamaat makes dua, and the dua is made for them, then you will be included in that dua. Can you read the next hadith?
عن ابن مسعود رضي الله تعالى عنه قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول نظر الله امرأ سمع منا شيئا فبلغه كما سمع رب مبلغ أو عالم من سامع.
Okay, Bismillah, interesting hadith, similar to the other one. وعن ابن مسعود, narrated of Salat Mas'ud, قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول, I heard Rasul saying, نظر الله امرأ, may Allah Ta'ala keep fresh the person, سمع منا شيئا, he hears something from us, يعني from Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم, فبلغه, then he conveys it, right? كما سمعه, like how he heard it, فرب مبلغ له, then many times so the person which has been narrated to, as a maf'ul, he considers it more than the person who narrated it to him. So this is a similar meaning, which I told you here, that sometimes somebody will just narrate something, but the person who heard it, he will extrapolate, he will take the laws out. Like I told you, the Imam Mujtahideen, the Imam Shafi, they heard the hadith, and they are the ones. That is why some of the muhaddithin addressing the fuqaha said that you are the doctors and we are the pharmacists. We only give the medicine. We give you the hadith, but you are the one who made the prognosis. You extract the laws from it, right? So what it means is فَرُبَّ مُبَلَّغٍ, many a person who the things reaches him, he is a faqih, he will be able to take the laws out, etc. Read the next hadith. Right. So whilst we are encouraged to convey the message of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to convey the message of Islam, to invite people to Islam, etc., to give the encouragement we are encouraged to spread authentic information with regards to Islam, that Nabi sallam said this, Nabi sallam said that, it is sunnah to do this, it is mustahab to do that, etc., etc. At the same time, we are being cautioned that we shouldn't just spread anything, we shouldn't fabricate things, we should authenticate things first. One Ibn Abbas, in the right of Ibn Abbas, قال Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, اتقوا الحديث عني إلا ما علمتم, that be careful, fear narrating from me, illa ma alimtum, except that which you know, you are sure it's authentic. فَمَنْ كَذَبَ عَلَيَّ مُتَعَمِّدًا, that person who lies upon me intentionally, فَلْيَتَبَوَّأْ مَقْعَدَهُ مِنَ النَّارِ, then he should prepare his abode in the fire. Sometimes you narrate your own thing to further your own agenda. Maybe if somebody done something, you say, it comes in the hadith, you mustn't do this here. Somebody got his sandwich, you don't want to share what he says. You say it comes in the hadith. If you don't share your sandwich with your classmate, you're going to get this punishment or you're going to get that punishment. Or maybe somebody want to borrow the pen. If you don't share your pen, then it comes in the hadith. Then this will happen to you, that will happen to them. Right? So you fabricate something too. And a lot of times, what will happen is, normally a person will only fabricate something when he got an agenda to fulfill. So what would happen is, the people got batil sects. Like, at the time of, like the difference between Hazrat Ali and Hazrat Muawiyah, or the difference between Hazrat Ali and Aisha Siddiqa, they would fabricate things to prove their point, to show that they are right, etc. Or maybe if you in a particular field, you are maybe in the field of tasawwuf, khanta, so you will fabricate things to show this is the best branch of deen. Or maybe if you go Jamaat, maybe you go Khuruj, then you want to make to show that this is the best action of deen. It is better than going to the khanta, it is better than going to the madrasa, it is better than doing anything else. So now you take extremely weak hadith to prove your point, or you take out even wrong explanations from the Quran and Hadith. So that is a fabrication. So especially when it is being done intentionally. So once you do something unintentionally, it's also not correct. That's why ulama always say, "Aw kama qala alayhi salatu wasalam," that Nabi says something to this effect. So to be negligent with regards to narrating from Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a very, very serious thing, and it is viewed in a very, very serious light. So that is why, as I tell you, always I say, when the boys are doing their talks, they must check, double check, read it correctly, see if they got it right. Mustn't just shoot from the hip. Rawahu Tirmidhi, Imam Tirmidhi Najjar, wa rawahu Ibn Majah, and Ibn Mas'ud. Ibn Majah got a similar riwayat, but his is from Ibn Mas'ud, right? And wa Jabirin, and wa lam yadhkur ittaqul hadith anni. But there, if I don't have this part here, that ittaqul hadith anni, that be careful about narrating hadith from me, except illa ma'alim, to accept that you know it with certainty. We carry on. Right. Also narrated the authority of Ibn Abbas, he said, the Rasul said, Man qala fil Qur'ani, whoever speaks in the Quran, bira'hi, with regards to his own opinion, فَلْيَتَبَوَّأْ مَقْعَدَهُ مِنَ النَّارِ, then he should prepare his abode in the fire. Or في رواية, another riwayat, Man qala fil Qur'ani, whoever speaks with the Quran, بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ, without any knowledge, فَلْيَتَبَوَّأْ مَقْعَدَهُ مِنَ النَّارِ, then he should prepare his abode in Jahannam. Rawahu Tirmidhi, Imam Tirmidhi narrates the same just riwayat. Okay, the next riwayat got a similar meaning, right? It's similar, so I will give the explanation one time when we come there. Read the next one. Read the next riwayat, a similar sentiments, so we do the explanation of both one time. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وعن جنوب قال رسول الله من قال في القرآن برأيه فأصاب فقد أخطأ. رواه الترمذي وابن ماجه رواه الترمذي وأبو داود. Look at this severe warning. Narrating authority of Hazrat Junnub ibn Junada, he said, Rasulullah said, whoever speaks the Quran from his own opinion, فأصاب, and even if he got it right, فقد أخطأ, that he committed a grave sin by speaking without knowledge. رواه الترمذي وأبو داود, Imam Tirmidhi and Abu Dawud narrates this. So if you look at this riwayat, the previous riwayat and this riwayat here, what it's saying here is that, look here, the Quran is not a toy. It is not a thing where people can say what they want to, and they can, each one can, I think this is what this verse means here, What do you think? Now, there was at one stage here in South Africa, this was happening, where what they would do is, People want to gain independence from the ulama, but there is no independence from the ulama because authentic ulama that are conveying what comes from the Sahaba Ikram, which comes from Nabi Sallallahu, which comes from Allah Ta'ala, because where did the Nabi Sallallahu knowledge came? Nazala bihi ruhul amin wa ma yantiq anil hawa in wa illa wahyu yuha. So that knowledge, it came from Allah Ta'ala, sometimes through Nabi Sallallahu directly, or sometimes through Jibreel, and Nabi Sallallahu gave it to the Sahaba Ikram, and the Sahaba Ikram gave it to the Tabi'in, and they gave it to the Tabi'in, and that's how it came through to us, right? So there's no cutting out that. There is no cutting out. There is no cutting out the chain. Some people want to give the impression that, Na'udhu forget about the ulama, forget about the ulama. Some people even want to give the impression that you even can cut out the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that you don't even need the explanation of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam of the Quran. You can look at the Quran, you can read it, and you can understand it yourself, and you can draw your own conclusions, and you can draw your own, your own lessons from it. There was a culture, there was some stage, you get this what we call modern people, where one day would do is in certain places, not maybe in P, alhamdulillah, but the other places, Johannesburg, in those places, they would sit, not ulama, genre laymen, they would sit with the translation of the Quran. They don't know the Arabic. They would read a verse, and each one must say what he thinks the verse means. Each one must forget about knowing the hadith, forgetting about knowing Arab. They don't even know Arabic. So now you know that we are the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. We say the most correct explanation of the Quran comes from where? From Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And who saw Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? Who heard the Sahaba Ikram? So that is why we say, like you doing, mashallah, Tafsir ibn Kathir. Most of the time you look at what the hadith got to say. We understand the Quran through the lens of the hadith. Because Nabi Sallallahu was revealed, وَأَنزَلَ إِلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ لِتُبَيِّنَ لِلنَّاسِ. So this culture of saying in the Quran without knowledge, and giving your own opinion, it is such a serious thing that even if you got it right, you will still be punished. Why? Because you ventured into territory where you're not supposed to. You done something which you're not supposed to do, and that was what? And that was speaking to the Quran without knowledge. So this year, that's why also we speak about at-tafsiru bi-ra'i. Or like it comes from this, man qala fil Qur'ana bi-ra'ihi. So when we speak about the tafsir and the explanation of the Quran, when we speak about tafsir, we say this is the tafsir of the verse. Then tafsir refer to what the Sahaba Ikram understood from the verse. And if there was nothing, like sometimes you don't find a clear hadith with regards to, then what is understood from the clear, plain, simple Arabic in light of the other usul of the hadith? Because remember, there are themes throughout the Quran. So in light of the themes of the Quran, that's how you will understand it. So the people of the Lughat, so you look at the explanation of the Sahaba Ikram, you look at the explanation of the Mufassirin, the people are clued up with the language, the real implication of all the words. Ta'wil, so that is what you say about tafsir, that is tafsir, where you view the verse through the hadith of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, through the statements of the Sahaba Ikram, through the explanations of those people are clued up, the Mufassirin. Ta'wil is where you take out possible meanings. You say it could mean this, it could mean that, etc. It's possible. Now, this is interesting point here. When there is no clear hadith of the Quran explaining a verse, and the ta'wil you are giving, it fits 100% in with the qawaid of lughat, the laws of lughat. You're not going against the open meaning of the, we discussed before, what is tahrif bil ma'na and tahrif bil lafz. The tahrif bil lafz is you actually change the words of the Quran. You say this is not the right word or this word comes in here. That is tahrif bil. And tahrif bil ma'na means you go against the open, clear meaning of the verse, right? So what he's saying here is that if there's no clear hadith, etc., because you don't have a hadith for every verse, and the explanation, the ta'wil you're giving, there's no tahrif of the lafz and there's no tahrif of the ma'na. You are accepting the zahir meaning of the hadith. Then to make ta'wil in that case is permissible to say that the hadith could possibly mean this because these are the words of the Quran and this words mean that, so that's fine. Right, so we told you what is tafsir and we told you what is ta'wil, and we told you under what conditions ta'wil is permissible when there's no tahrif and when you are following the zahir of the lafz, etc. Then, so that's also acceptable, right? The third one, that person who did not look at the hadith, he did not look at the tafsir of the ulama, and he's not even clued up with lughat, this is the fa'il, this is the maf'ul, this is etc., etc. He only gave his own opinion, and his opinion was not regulated by the laws of lughat, etc. So this is the one who the hadith criticizes. So even if coincidentally he came out, he derived at the correct conclusion, still it's an abomination. Still he's blameworthy because he done what he's not supposed to do. And this is what we term as tafsir bi-rai. Tafsir bi-rai is where you are not controlled, you're not governed by the hadith, not by the explanation of the mufassirin, and you're even not tuned up with the language, and you're giving your own opinion. So this is what is the one which is frowned upon, the one which is rejected. Okay, read the next hadith.
أبي هريرة تعالى قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في القرآن رواه.
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. رأيتنا عن أبي هريرة قال رسول الله المراء في القرآن كفر رواه أحمد وأبو داود. رأيتنا أخرت أبو هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه said رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم argumentation, disputing, rejecting the Quran is kufr. Now Ahmad wa Abu Dawud, Imam Ahmad and Abu Dawud narrate this particular riwayat. So al-mira'u fil Quran kufrun. I told you mira' ra'a yura'i mura'in. Not with the ain. There's a different ra'a with the ain is to consider somebody there. With a hamza. So that person, like I told you before, you make tahrif. You adulterate the Quran. You go against the clear text of the Quran to further your own agendas. You take out your own meaning and you take unfounded explanation. You take one verse and you join it with another verse. You skip one verse, right? Ma asaba min musibatin fabi'idhnillah. You join the verses. Ma asaba min musibatin fabima kasabat aydikum. And you try to take some verses out. You take one verse and you try to say this verse is right and that verse is wrong. So this is what we speak about kufr. This is what is the dangerous thing. In fact, if you look at the next hadith, it explains this a bit in more detail. Read the next hadith.
سمع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يداؤون في القرآن قال إنما هلك كان قبلكم بهذا هذا من كتاب الله مثل كتاب الله التجدد بعد تريد
Okay, so this hadith here is an extension of the previous hadith. It more or less explains the same sentiments. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. One Amr ibn Shu'ayb an Abihi and Jaddi narrates of Amr ibn Shu'ayb, and he narrates from his father and he from his grandfather. قال سمع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قوما. Once the Nabi happened to hear some people يتدارؤون في القرآن. They were يتدارؤ. They were repelling. They were rejecting with the Quran. فقال إنما هلك من كان قبلكم. So من كان قبلكم, there would be the file. Who was before you, they all destroyed بهذا, because of this reason. ضربوا كتاب الله بعضه ببعض, that they struck the book of Allah Ta'ala, some of them with some others, they use the kitab against each other, the book of Allah Ta'ala. وَإِنَّمَا نَزَلَ كِتَابُ اللَّهِ, because verily the kitab of Allah Ta'ala came down, يُصَدِّقُ بَعْضُهَا بَعْضًا, some of it affirms some, so there's no contradiction. So they use the Quran to try to create contradictions between it. فَلَا تُكَذِّبُوا بَعْضَهُ بِبَعْضٍ, do not use, so do not deny the Quran, some of it with some others. Do not use, they say this verse, it goes against this verse here, and this verse makes sense. If you accept this verse here, then that verse doesn't make sense. That's what I'm saying. فَلَا تُكَذِّبُوا بَعْضَ بَعْضٍ. So فَمَا عَلِمْتُم مِّنْهُ, that which you've got a clear understanding, right? Right? فَقُلُوهُ, accept it. وَمَا جَهِلْتُم, that which you cannot understand it, according to you, doesn't make sense. Obviously, doesn't everything makes sense. There's no contradictions in the Quran. But according to you, فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ زَيْغٌ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ, then فَكِلُوهُ إِلَىٰ عَالِمِهِ, then leave it entrusted to the scholars. رواه أحمد وابن ماجة, Imam Ahmad and Ibn Majah narrates this particular riwayat. Okay, I tell you, تَدَارَأَ يَتَدَارَأُ comes from dar'un. The root letters of dara'a is dara'a. Dara'a, tadara'a, yatadabdar'un. So here, it comes tafa'ala. Tafa'ala means to do something from both sides. It comes from both sides, right? To argue, to fight, to say this verse contradicts this verse is correct, this verse is incorrect. So certain people, because of the inability to understand certain verses of the Quran, they, like I said, they say this is correct, this is incorrect, etc. So if you are unable, if you cannot understand, or you do not have somebody to explain to you, just because you don't understand it, or you don't have anyone to explain it to you, then, right, do not reject it. Rather entrust it to the people who know. So I was telling you, sometimes something don't make, there was something don't make sense to you, so you don't explain it, so you don't understand it, you want to say it's wrong. I don't know if you heard of Muammar Gaddafi. He was the leader of the Libya. He said like this, see, you mustn't say Qul huwa Allahu ahad, you must say Allahu ahad. This was the instruction to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So you don't have to repeat the instruction. You yourself say, like I tell you, Rashid, say this here. So you will say this here. You will say what I'm saying. Understood? So he says, no, you mustn't say Qul huwa Allahu ahad. You mustn't say that you must say Allahu ahad, Allahu samad. And I understand what I'm saying. There's one example now. I'm just reading this hadith. Then there's another incident here. There's one scholar here. I can't remember. His name is Imran Hussein. He speaks a lot about eschatology, end times. In fact, he's coming to South Africa. He's going to be living in Cape Town for 1 month, and he's going to be having tours. I can't remember exactly, but also he was saying in one harakat in a verse, he was saying the harakat is wrong. It's a kasra there, but he's saying it's supposed to be a fatha. It's a kasra, but this should be a fatha. And he was giving some reasons. I must just check up again, but to find it and see what is the reason why he's saying that. Now, see, they say, al-mira'u, same thing. Fil Qur'ani kufrun. From these hadiths here, you understand. And also say, see there, what the hadith says. إنما هلك من كان قبلكم بهذا ضربوا كتاب الله بعضه ببعض. So because they don't understand the thing, they want to say there's a mistake in the Quran, or this verse is correct, or this verse is incorrect, or this verse contradicts this verse here. So you have to say what the hadith say. Look here, if you understand it, good luck to you. Alhamdulillah. If you don't understand it and you don't have anyone to explain it to you, then kulu ila alimihi. Then entrust it to somebody that knows it. Like even I was just listening. There's another person. His name is Shabir, that's her name. Huh? Shabir Ali, yeah. Shabir Ali, he's I think in Canada. So he was explaining. You listen to his things, dangerous things. he was speaking about he was speaking about the verse of Miraz, and he was speaking about the verse about the boy must get, the son must get double what the daughter get. So he was saying, look, obviously he's saying, look, in previous times, the man used to care for the woman, like how our Islamic is. If a woman is, if a girl is young, right, then her father must look after her until she gets married, right? Until she gets married, the father's the responsibility. In the absence of a father, if you got the son will look after. In the absence of a son, then her brothers must look after. In the absence of a brother, uncles must look after. And when she gets married, then she's the responsibility of a husband, etc. So in the previous time, a woman didn't have to care for herself. The man had to care for a woman. The man had to care for his wife. He had to care for his daughters. He had to care for his mom, etc. So that is why a woman must get double the share of a man. But he said in today's day and age, you don't have that anymore. Women are independent people. We don't have the culture of where the man must carry. So firstly, we reject it. We say, no, the Islamic, law of that a woman being the care of a when she's young, her father, when she's married a husband, and when she don't have a husband, if she doesn't have the means, she's the responsibility of her son. We say that still remains. There's no change in that. What the Western women do, that has no bearing on what the Islamic law is. So he's trying to prove to say that this ayat is not relevant anymore. He said this, so he's saying this ayat was for then when a woman was in the charge, but today women are independent, so they are just as good as a man, so they must get a full share of the men, etc. So he was just proving a clear verse of the Quran. And I mean, if you look at these hadiths here, you think now who's going to reject the Quran? Who's going to say that this is not valid, this is not relevant, and this is etc. But there you see, you're finding these people that are rejecting the Quran. You find these people that are saying the verse of the Quran is not relevant anymore. Na'udhu billah, astaghfirullah. So you see how the prediction of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has come. It showed itself when he says, yeah, Shabir Ali, I hope you're not listening to these videos. You know his name. I hope you're not listening to his videos. Dangerous stuff he speaks. This is one of the dangerous stuff he speaks. Allah Ta'ala protect us. Okay, so we'll switch over, inshallah.
What's the meaning of it now?
Where must we do from? We're so busy with the kitab. Where?
What? Start from what? Moosagie.
Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We're going to do a new verse today, inshallah, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like we're going to be switching away from the, so thus far we've been discussing this whole, discussing about these people in the Hajj, right? That were, what verse number are we doing? Yeah, so we're moving away from those people who made halal haram and haram halal. We've done that in detail, alhamdulillah. Read the next verse, inshallah. Okay, let's stop there. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَلِكُلِّ أُمَّةٍ أَجَلٌ فَإِذَا جَاءَ أَجَلُهُمْ لَا يَسْتَأْخِرُونَ السَّاعَةَ وَلَا يَسْتَقْدِمُونَ. And for every people, every nation, there is an appointed time. So when the appointed time comes, they will not be late for a moment, nor will they go before. In other words, Allah Ta'ala has made a fixed time. No, Allah, like Allah says, وَلَا يُؤَخِّرَ اللَّهُ نَفْسًا إِذَا جَاءَ أَجْلُهُ وَلَا يُؤَخِّرَ اللَّهُ نَفْسًا إِذَا, when a person, a soul's time comes, his fixed time, وَلَا يُؤَخِّرَ, Allah will not delay it or will not bring it forward. So the time is fixed. The first and second verses both mention two crimes committed by the disbelievers. They took a halal as haram and made the haram become halal for themselves by themselves. The third verse describes the sad end and the punishment you would have in the year after. It was said, so these people that they were in power, they were controlling, they were doing all the wrong things, and now Islam had come. They don't want to accept Islam, so Allah Ta'ala says now they will also meet the end. They will also meet their sad fate that has come to the end. وَلِكُلِّ أُمَّةٍ أَجَلٍ, and for every person there's an appointed time. So when the appointed time comes, they will not be late for a moment, though will they. So in other words, what is being said here is that those committing excesses, like we told you, halal, haram, despite their contumacy, are basking in the sunshine of the blessing of Allah Ta'ala and not seem to be anywhere close to being punished. They should not lose sight of the customary practice of Allah Ta'ala, that He in His infinite mercy keeps granting a long leash to sinners so that they would somehow stop doing what they do. But the term of this leash is that the time of this respite stands determined in the ultimate knowledge of Allah Ta'ala. When the third time comes, it just comes, neither too late nor too soon. Thus, criminals are caught in punishment. At times, the punishment descends right here in this world. And if the punishment does not visit them here, it awaits to receive them after their death. So what Allah Ta'ala is saying in this verse, that sometimes you see people are reveling in the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, they are carrying on and they are abusing, like how we see today, even what is happening in Gaza, etc. We see how for how many years the Zionists, they are brutalizing, they are killing, they are abusing, and they are destroying. See this, what happened yesterday, how they killed how many people in Lebanon with those pages, act of terrorism, innocent people, blew their fingers off, blew their limbs off, etc., etc. So what acts of terror? How do they know that those soldiers are not amongst members of the public when that thing is being blown off? So no matter who it is, outwardly it seems like that these people, there is no end to the oppression. It's no, but they are carrying on. But it is like how you say in English, you're giving him a rope to hang himself. They are giving him a rope to him. Throughout history, whenever there was a people, whenever there was a regime, whenever there was a nation, they were maybe superpowers. But when they started with the oppression, whether they were Muslim or whether they were non-Muslim, doesn't matter where you are Muslim or not. Even if you are Muslim, but when you start with your oppression, then that will be the beginning of your downfall, and your time will come. So same thing here, Allah Ta'ala is saying that outwardly see that these people are continuing and they is not being brought to book, but وَلِكُلِّ أُمَّةٍ أَجَلٍ. And if in this dunya they will not be brought to book, those who pass away, they were not brought to task. They pass away before the people was brought to, then definitely in the akhirah they will be brought to task. As for the appointed time not being late or earlier stated in this verse, it's a manner of saying, something like saying to a salesperson in store, is this your last price, more or less? It is obvious that the inquiry is for the lower price, but not the higher. So that is when you say, like, is this, sometimes you just use, like how you say in the Quran, yukhadi'un Allah or yukhadi'um. You use both words just for the rhythm, but both is not intended. So it means, so what it means here, they cannot bring it forward, they cannot take it back. In other words, what this means is they will not take it back. They cannot delay whatever Allah Ta'ala has. So obviously they want to bring it forward. Nobody wants to bring the time of destruction forward, but it's just brought for what you call, we done this word in Balagha. What's called when you bring two opposite words to create the rhythm. What's called? Tibakun, yeah. I remember. We done this also in Safwa to Tafasir. So both words are just used for tibak. It's used for tibak. Why both are not intended. Like how you say, you go to the shop, somebody say 10 rand, say not more, not less. So obviously you don't want him to charge you more. Who wants to pay more? Only like the story of the Sahabi that bought a horse, you wanted to give more. So you mean more or less, so you just use the opposite for tibak, right? Just to create. So same thing here. They're saying nobody will want to bring their time of destruction forward. They want to delay the time. They want to continue in their zulm. So as for the point in time not being later earlier stated in this verse, it's a manner of saying something like saying to a salesperson next door, is this your last price? It's obvious that the inquiry is for the lower price, not higher. But it is put there as a subordinate suffix. Sometimes the real objective here is to say that there will be no delay after the appointed time. The mention of before along with late makes it closer to common comprehension. So this is like a figure of speech. So when the time comes, then they will not be able to delay it. Okay, read the Arabic. So Allah Ta'ala says, وَلِكُلِّ أُمَّةٍ أي وَلِكُلِّ أُمَّةٍ right. وَلِكُلِّ قَرْنٍ وَجِيلٍ right. وَجِيلٍ for every epoch, for every jil also like a generation, right? For everyone, what is it? Ajalun, an end point. Everybody has the end point. No matter how rich you are, no matter how healthy you are, no matter how strong you are, a time will come when you have to stand in front of your Rabb, right? كل ما هو آت فهو قريب. Everything that will come is close. It seems far, but when it's on top of you, it will seem like just yesterday. So you can live till 80 years, you can live till 90 years, you can live till 60 years, you can live till 40 years. But when you stand in front of Allah Ta'ala and you have to answer, it seems like you were just born yesterday and you just came into the dunya yesterday and your time came. So كل ما هو آت فهو قريب. Everything that has come as though it is very, very close, right? Yeah. So فإذا جاء أجل يعني ميقاتهم المقدر لهم. That time that has been fixed for them, when it comes towards them, like the same thing. Although here the verse speaks about the end point of an empire, people that had committed zulm, they have committed oppression, etc. When Allah Ta'ala has decided now this is enough, they are going overboard when it comes. But it's also very relevant to you as an individual. Like when you time to leave the dunya, the time comes to stand in front of your maker, then they will not be able to delay it for even a moment, and they will not be able to bring it for لا يستأخرون ساعة ولا يستقدمون. Right, carry on. Right. So that's going to the next verse. يا بني آدم إما يأتيكم رسل منكم يقصون عليكم آياتي فمن اتقى وأصلح فلا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. Now there's a new verse there. So yeah, Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran now, see, outside of Adam, if messages from among you come to you, narrating my verses before you, then whoever fears Allah Ta'ala and corrects himself, for them there shall be no fear, nor shall they grieve. So in this verse here, this is one single verse, but Allah Ta'ala is explaining the whole pattern of life. That look here, you, Adam, you are living in heaven, right? You are living in Jannat. And then you got expelled. We done all the details, right? We said although Shaitan was the outer cause, etc., but it was the grand scheme of Allah Ta'ala. Now you are living in this dunya for a short time, right? You are living. So when your end time comes, you can do not delay that time. When the end time comes, so you are sent to this world for a short time. And when your end time comes, you cannot delay it, right? But at the same time, Allah Ta'ala will be sending messengers to you all the time, right? To remind you that this dunya is not your house. Your house is in Jannat. You are here for a purpose. So, Ya Bani Adam, O children of Adam, if messengers from among you come to you and they were narrating my verses, that was each prophet came with the Quran, with a scripture, right, etc. Or if it was a Nabi that never had a scripture, then he prophet came to the message of the last scripture before him, etc. Right? So, right, يقصون عليكم آياتي فمن اتقاه, who fears Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? In other words, he fears Allah ta'ala with regards to this message, right? وأصلح, and he takes the pains to correct himself. فلا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. There's no worry for him because he has fulfilled his mandate for what he came. Let's look at the next verse. وَالَّذِينَ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا وَاسْتَكْبَرُوا عَنْهَا أُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ النَّارِ هُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ. So now those people who are not receptive to the message, right? Those who belie our verses, they do not, this clear verses come, this clear message come. Those who belie our verses and stand arrogant amongst them, which this shows you what is the thing that stops a person from accepting the message. It's arrogance. These people is why must we submit? And those who belie our verses is arrogant against him. Those are the people of the fire. So when you are arrogant, you don't want to accept the message. So when the scholar tells you this is haram, they do not do this. This is not how you should be dressing. You should be dressing in a modest way. You should be covering yourself up. So why is he telling us he doesn't buy our clothes? Does he pay for our clothes? He don't pay for my clothes. must tell me how to dress. Sometimes you hear that also sometimes in the madrasa when the teacher is telling the students how they must dress. You don't buy my clothes, don't tell me how to dress. So that is what you say, arrogance, pride, right? والذين كذبوا بآياتنا ديننا واستكبروا عنها أولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون. So those, so it just shows you also in this verse, it shows you one of the main reasons why people don't want to accept the truth is because of the pride and arrogance that who is he to tell us? Why should he tell us? Who is he, right? So, okay, read the verse there. فمن اتقى وأصلح يعني what this means, who fears Allah and وأصلح and he correct himself يعني ترك المحرمات, he leaves all the haram things, وفعل الطاعات and he do engage in all the actions of obedience. So we say امتثال أوامر الله واجتناب نواهيه, you abstain from those things which امتثال, you do those things that are required from you, واجتناب نواهيه, and you leave those things that have been prohibited, right?
فلا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون الذين كذبوا بآياتنا واستكبروا عنها أي كذبت بها قلوبهم واستكبروا عن العمل بها.
So you have been sent to the dunya, right? And for a purpose. And the messages will come on a continuous basis and they will remind you about your purpose in this dunya, right? But, right, if you take to heart the message, you do what you are commanded, they will tell you what you have been commanded to do, and they will tell you what you have been prohibited. So when you internalize that message, then فَلَا خَوْفٌ عَلَيْهِمْ, there will be no fear upon them, وَلَا يَحْزَنُونَ, and وَلَا هُمْ يَحْزَنُونَ, and neither will they grieve. وَالَّذِينَ كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا, but those who deny our signs, right? وَاسْتَكْبَرُوا, and they're too proud. يعني كَذَّبَتْ بِهَا قُلُوبُهum, their hearts reject it. We don't want to accept this. Why are you restricting us? Why are you telling us we can only eat this, we can't eat that? Why are you telling us we can only engage in this business, we can't engage in that business? Why is this business haram? Why are you making the deal so difficult? واستكبروا عن العمل بها, and then they are too proud to practice about it. أولئك أصحاب النار, those are the people of the fire. هم فيها خالدون, they will remain in favor. ماكثون فيها, مكث يمكثوا, they will remain فيها, right? مكثا مخلدا, an eternal staying. Okay, the new verse will stop there, inshallah. We'll continue tomorrow. بس سبحان الله وبحمده.